Would you like to field questions?
Sure.
Anybody have any questions?
Back there.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
I have a question, and I've been thinking about throughout these lunches what it looks like to learn from failure, to learn from mistakes. I'm wondering, in your experience, what are either traits in leadership or experiences that we can learn to avoid so we don't repeat those same mistakes? You mentioned several, characteristics of effective leaders. What are several traits of things we should recognize in ourselves or in our organizations that will lead to being ineffective or failing? Is there anything that sticks out in your mind, or advice you can offer us and things to avoid?
Well, obviously you can learn from mistakes. You can. Sometimes I think we learn more from our own than we do from other people's. But yeah, you can learn from mistakes. If I don't think of anything off the top of my head. I mean, it's easy to look. There are people who know a lot more about this than I do, but look at the leadership that got us into the Vietnam War and the mistakes they made, and they thought they were doing it the right way, and they thought they were following up World War II. But I'm not enough of a scholar to know about that. But it's obvious. Yeah, you ought to be. I mean, maybe the automobile executives are a good example. Think about it before you start asking for money and then doing dumb things. Yes, sir.
One of the major themes you talked about was getting to know the people that you lead and having them get to know you. In education, we call that building community.
Yep.
What are some of the things that you've seen people use to build community in the organizations that you've been in? What are some of the steps you take proactively to build community?
Well, I told Brian. Where is Brian? Brian, back here. I told him before the meeting. Brian works, I think he's second under Gleaves, isn't he? He's second in command in the office. And Brian will tell you every time the Hauenstein Center gets together, I mean, he's young. To me, he's young. He's really young. And every time we get together for a Hauenstein meeting, I go out of my way to find Brian, and he'll tell you I do that too. I always find him because I'm interested in what he thinks. I'm interested in what he knows and what his outlook is. And I think you need to find ways. In the office, in the Varnum law firm, there are all kinds of young people, and I try to pick out a few, and because I'm interested in knowing what they think. It's the interpersonal skills, building relationships. I'm sure in education they tell you a lot about that, and you have to work at it. And but the principle is the same whether it's your child or the local education group or whatever. It's just try to understand. And I still think my example on the subway is as good as you get. I mean, without knowing where that poor guy was coming from, how could you deal? How could you lead him to take care of his kid? You couldn't. I mean, you change the whole course of the conversation, and that's the extreme. But you have to do the best you can to get close to people or ideas or whatever. I'm happy to expound. Well, I'm laughing at me now, but I'm happy to talk about one of the things I think I find in this society at this time, all the time, is that I don't think anybody, too strong, I don't think many people pay any attention to the point of view of the other side. I mean, they don't even want to know. In the presidential campaign, the perfect example was the battle that first Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama had going, and then Barack Obama and John McCain on pre-negotiations. I mean, they talked about it ad infinitum. Whether you should, I mean, Mr. Obama, President-elect Obama's position is, no, I'll negotiate with anybody. I'll go any place and talk anytime. And that's so eminently reasonable that people say, well, yeah, I mean, what kind of idiot wouldn't do that? I mean, you're the leader of the free world, why wouldn't you do that? Well, if you get beneath that, to the other side of the coin, the Hillary Clinton position, and then John McCain's position, there's a long history in American foreign policy of our leaders getting into trouble when they just went out and lent their credibility to everybody, anybody in the country, and you can build the whole case that you know, Iran's probably the great example right now. If you want to go talk to Ahmadinejad or whatever, I'm not sure I pronounced that right, but if you want to go talk to him, he wants you for a PR reason on his own part. He wants to demonstrate what he's got, and you need to study that and analyze it and figure it out. Well, my point of the whole discussion is that the one position is so eminently the reasonable that nobody pay any attention to the other one. As far as I could see, it's a little more complicated and sophisticated, and I think that's true all through the society. Nobody pays any attention to the other side. They don't. You have to pick one, but you really ought to understand them.
Well, thank you very much.
You, please.
Well, now, as this audience knows, no one leaves without getting a very special gift. And your gift is a Hauenstein Center tote bag, but it's not the bag that's so cool, although it is a cool bag around the streets here. But what's really cool is what's in it. It's Ralph Hauenstein's book, Intelligence Was My Line. You have a copy, and of course you have already seen this book. It is an outstanding
I've read it, really, and I'm delighted to have it.
Well, very good. And so you have another copy now, and we have a cup, a Hauenstein Center mug, and what's in that is very special. It's Andy's Mints, thanks to Ralph, so sweeten up your day. So
thank you.
There you go, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say, as a way of wrapping up, again, thank you so much to our special guest today, Hilary Snell, and we really appreciate your involvement with the Hauenstein Center. A couple of other things. I wanted to acknowledge two of our leadership fellows who have some wonderful news. Stephen Duckett, please stand, Stephen. Come on, stand up there. Stephen just got a very prestigious award from the Kellogg Foundation and the American Humanics Institute, and he is a new scholar with the American Humanics Institute. So way to go. And she's avoiding eye contact because she knows she's next. But Megan Saul has been in the newspaper. Please stand, Megan. Megan was recently promoted to head up the Downtown Development Authority for Wyoming, Michigan. So way to go, Megan. And finally, I just want to point out that the Hauenstein Center is about to take really another leap forward. We're going to do something that we have not done in the past. We are going to have the opportunity next week to make our first presentation. We're going to have our first conference in Washington, D.C. at the Library of Congress. And Mandy Bird and Brian and others have worked so hard to make this happen. Kara, we've appreciated your help on this. Austin. So for all of you who have been participating in this, I thank you, and you're helping take the Hauenstein Center to the next level. So thank you very much. With that announcement, we are adjourned, and we'll see you a bit later.